We lost the hedge, but that's fine. Japan. Obi Hero. Where is that? Never heard of Obi Hero. 1000? We'll see. Oh, 100. Oh, wait. We are on 100. I didn't see. GG's. I didn't even see we reached 100. Uh, Obi Hero. Famous? Wait, why do I not know famous? Bruh, I swear I'm not rage baiting or anything like that. I've never heard of Obi Hero. Which province it is in? Which prefecture? Okinawa? But why? Is it really Okinawa? I mean, it might be. Who knows? Anyway, it's Japan. I'm. Or is it Hokkaido? Is what you're saying? 4, 3, 2, 1. Back. America. Western Virginia. 3, 2, 1. There's a front plate though. Wisconsin, these nuts. Oh, it's northeast. I don't know. It's US. It is Wisconsin. Za. Welcome grass. Eswa, Eswa. SZ. What? SZ. Oh, it's Eswatini grass, of course. Kenya. It's me. I don't think anyone else says El welcome grass. Uh, is Eswatini.sz? Really? Is that what you're referring to? Oh, it's Swaziland. That's why. Eswatini uh, dot sz. What's that even called? That's called Kenyan bush. Yeah. GG's Rallius. Um, I forgot what's that called. Domain name, yeah. Eswatini domain name. It.sz because of Swaziland. We have some tea or something like that. Um, Beer in 5. 4. Coffee. Nope, it's not MG. Isn't coffee like bigger than that? Maybe it's just far away, that's why it looks smaller. 24. Back. I'm not entirely convinced this is Brazil, but if you say so. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, I'm not entirely convinced this is Brazil. Aguascalientes. I how are you like I can't see pole. I don't know how are you guys seeing pole. Like it's just so far away from me. Never was. I don't know. I would think this might be GG. It's too flat. And we might be on the left side of the road actually. I think I like Australia more than ours. Straight up. Surely that's a real meta. Not us. Yeah, if anything, this is not a wooden pole, I would say. So maybe that's not us. Like, I'm just assuming this is not a wooden pole. But anyway, too far for me to tell. Fences can fit for any country that we mentioned. Maybe not so much for Brazil, but maybe it does. Pole with two insulators. Okay, you just said you were on a 90/40 screen. How are you able to see that? What? Where are the cables? To my right. Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. Right, right. Yeah. Like I have seen two insulators in Mexico, if I'm not wrong, but I don't remember the other countries. I mean, if it were Europe, we would not have reached 100, let's be honest. Brazil over Colo. Mega flat. Okay. Final guesses. We have Renegade saying Brazil, Zen saying Colo, Graphics saying Brazil, uh, Acacia, Baja saying Brazil. Yeah, we had Aguascalientes from Renegade earlier. But maybe you can just scan off all of Aguascalientes, try to find it because such a small state. How hilly is it? Oh, I disabled my this thing. That's why this thing doesn't work. Never max. Okay. So now we're within Colo and between Colo and Brazil. Almost everyone is saying Brazil, right? Those two sticks in the same way. Uh, okay, Zen is also thinking. Okay, then we go Brazil. Everyone is in Brazil. 5 seconds to get your final thoughts in. 4, 3. Once this streak ends, I'll just play a move. I think this was redeemed by the wheel, no? One moving duel. Uh, yeah, I'll just play one moving duel and we'll end. I'm not gonna go for act 9 hours. Um, at least I didn't say 18. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. It is Bahia. And we get this diabolical round. Is it like Mongolia or Mongolia? Yeah. Yeah, I think I can't really think of anything else. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Big lake. This one, or I think that's the biggest lake. Ot Otgon Tenga. Maybe not the best way to say it. Ralius has gone for food. Um, Indoor. Kufskul. What is the Brazil? Where was the Brazil colo? Yeah, it was here. It's MP. It was in southern Bahia. This one is colo. Peru. It's 25 gray, maybe. Wait 1 second. 1 second. Yeah. I don't think Colo, but impossible 50. Okay, so both of you are in Peru. You're thinking Colo, okay. I guess in Peru it will be like Tarapoto or something. Probably just Colo. Colo. Okay. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Because Turkey in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Sned in 3, 2, 1. Back in 3, 2, 1. Gotta always do a 3 to 1, otherwise we'll lose it. That's what I've learned in the past few days. Is it a cheeky little? No, surely not. It's that far up. Yeah, but it's for luck. Like every time we have lost the streak, almost every time we have lost it below a 50 number, I've not done a 3 2 1. It's just, what's the term for it? Yeah, it's just for luck, basically. Yeah, I don't know which one is this one is. I'm gonna send UP in 5, 4. It is India, right? 3, 2, 1. I haven't peed in a long time. This is not Assam. I mean, this is not Nepal, is what I mean to say. I have not actually peed since a long time. At least not in 7 hours. I mean, we have Assam tiles. Way east Assam? I wouldn't think so, but maybe it is. I wanted to go like closer to Meghalaya, but sure, I'll trust. Yeah. Tomsk road lines or some whatever those are called. Electricity lines. It's not. W vibes. Yeah. I'm assuming this is just a side road. Like it's a big ass divided road is what I'm assuming. And I'm sending here. It's never. Wait. It's still on the. I'm just ignoring driving side fully. And it's never Paraguay, right? Or is it Paraguay? On news, is it Mexico? I don't think it's Mexico, but maybe I'm wrong. Is it actually Mexico? I think it's okay. If it's struck, then it has to be Paraguay then. And Baja has been lucky both times. Coporn, the southern Paraguay road, like this one. 3, 2, 1. No, we have not. This was the second Paraguay of today. Now we need Zen. To 5K. Blue road. So up here. Very flat. No, not very flat. What am I saying? We have hills to the southwest. Tamaulipas, have you gotten? I was gonna say West Road. Unlucky. Uh, um, no, it's Nuevo. It's Coahuila even. Close. No fronts. But maybe these are just southern pines. Bama. Al Obama. Both, like, if two people are saying the same state, it's still not the same state. Back. We've got this reflector. I don't think this reflector, I have not seen them in Canada. So, oh, also we have a flag. So I'm sending. It's not KFC state. It's 21. It looks a bit weird. I don't know. Tomsk, Krasno. Omsk. I'm gonna send Kemerovo. No, it's actually just over the border. Sending in 5. Never crash. That's Gen 3. What? Sending in 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay. I've never seen this Google car before. So maybe this is one of Nepal's Google cars. Does anyone know? This tuk-tuk looks Indian. And we might have some Palmyra palms. Yeah, this tuk-tuk looks Indian, no? Tamil on bin, West Bengal. I think yellow with black roof is Telangana, Andhra Pradesh, Tamil Nadu. So I'm gonna send. Actually, don't know. It's India anyway. Surely this tuk-tuk is not found in Nepal. Otherwise, that'll be bad. Uh, 4. But I've never seen this car though. Maybe I just don't remember. Anyone trying to guess anything? If not, I'm gonna send in 5 seconds. 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay. Uh, Russia? Is it a cheeky South Korea? No, right? It is still Russia. Also, I said even if we reach 100, we'll do this next Saturday, but I'll probably not do it. I lied. Yeah, I'll probably not do this next Saturday, but we'll see. Depends. Yeah, it is Kenya. It is Kenya. Maybe I'll do hedge streaks on this. I don't know. We'll see. No, hedge streaks, I feel like Europe maps would be better, like with Europe. Evertaz? Nope. That meta has failed. We're back in Thailand, right? Or is this our low cam? Shri? Yeah, I think it's low cam Shri. 4, 3, 2, 1. Russia again? 23 though. And also looks like fall coverage. So maybe it Kazakhstan. Normal car? Those are the two options, right? But is there ever Gen 4 fall coverage in Russia? I don't know. Is this not in Kazakhstan? Are these signs not in Kazakhstan? Ridder Kazakhstan, Oskamen Kazakhstan. Where is Ridder or Ridder? Yeah, I'm gonna assume since it's fall, it's not Russia. And copyright is 23. Different blur? Hello, Zaki. It's actually morning for you. No fall coverage, okay. It's not a Ridder. Three, two, one. Arj. Oh, we have the. Isn't this an Arj thing? Like the pole, but we can only see the bottom half of it. Slam. Core. Cordova. Never released. They'll secretly release before World Cup final. But then devs will confirm that it's not part of the map. Um, US. These are also thick, I wonder. No, it's, but yeah, it is here. At least US. What do you think? I see myself on the wall. 5. Rise and fall. But isn't that grid also here? Told me that they can understand the man I am, so why are we here? 4, 3, 2, 1. East Dakota. It was Nebraska. And you correct me when. Minnesota. Understand. US in 5 seconds. Four, three, two, one. It is Minnesota. Double pole meta. Through my rise and fall, you've been on. Told me that they can understand the man I am. Talking to each other again. I am in Thai. But is it Vietnam? Is it Samut Songkram? I think I'm in Samut. I'm in Sakon. Which one is Songkram? So somewhere here only. Yeah, I don't remember. VN has no blue, thank you. Tiny south of Sakon. Oh, this one. Nope. Ratchaburi. Oh, 5, 4, 3. I'll try to remember VN has no blue. I think Renegade said Philippines also doesn't have blue. So we'll try to remove those. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Yeah, I think the meta was short. Coconut palms are like west of city or something, west of Bangkok. Only has white in Gen 4. Okay. Shahara, where's your head at? Where's your head at? Not Sula, not Nooses, sending in 5. Shame that made it to the Plunkett guide, less free points. Oh, where's your head at? Wait, is it actually a repeat? I'm just gonna reload because sometimes. Oh, it is a repeat. And it was. I don't remember where it was. It's one of these roads. Um, it was North Cali, I think. So US, yeah. Where was it? Northeast, east, like one of these roads, I guess. Cinema. I'm just the goat. Hello, Cyan. 25K? No, we're not doing a 25K. Baja California Sur. Um. Oh, it's Gen 2, so it has to be Mexico. But maybe I thought like this is like the Peru cactus, but yeah, it's Gen 2. Bang. Okay, maybe we're on track for a good score. Maybe this is also a repeat, but I just don't remember where it was because it's Turkey. Any region guesses? Let's see if we can get a good score. What's the best score on this map, first of all? I still don't know who this person is, by the way. He has been playing like since 3 years. So this is today. Yeah. Okay, no region guesses. Unlucky. Um, North. How north though? I think this is fairly north. I guess I go Chankiri. Uh, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Or do you want me to go even more north? North of Tokat. Okay. Because the hills are like this. Okay. Showroom. Kenya. I don't know. I don't think anyone region guesses Kenya. Let's be honest. No one knows how to region guess this. Uh, Kenya in 5, 4. Machakos. What is that here? No, this is Naros. Which one is Machakos? It's one of the southern ones, right? I do not remember these. This one? No. Is Rwanda? Yeah, let's not forget that we're doing country streaks. I don't know actually. It's 26, so that's not helpful. I think it's still Kenya. And I'll send as soon as I find Machakos, and feel free to stop me before that. Is it one of these then? Yeah, but where is Machakos? Doesn't matter. I'm gonna send in 3, 2, 1. Okay, it is one of the southern ones, but Narok. And this is supposedly US fence, but we have seen it in Mexico a couple of times. And it's 24 black. Yeah, we need a US region guess. I think it's US. 24 black is lofty in the chat by some reason. Some central shit. Okay. We're not doing hedge, but just this seed. Since we got started on a good score. Just this game. I think Missouri is central. And I'm gonna send in house church. Yeah, it's just too far away for me to see. So I'm not able to help you there. But yeah, I like Missouri, why not? 5 for Kentucky. It looks like KFC. What do you mean it looks like KFC? I don't know. I'm sending Kentucky, why not? When I see building like that, I go Tennessee or Kentucky. Really? So it does look like KFC. I can see West Kentucky, where we are. Sending in 4, 3, 2, 1. Let's just send in Cadiz. It is actually Missouri in Mark Twain National Forest. So we didn't even beat our PB, but that's fine. Wait, why did I stop? Yeah, it continues from the number 200. We'll see. We will see. So what's the? I think Sean Champion got like 300 something, no? In arbitrary wall no move. Yeah, 333 arbitrary wall no move. I don't think I'll be able to beat that. Like even if we try for months and months. Me neither, Renegade. Gonna give more of us. I'm sending in 4-3-2-1. So he did that in arbitrary world, which has all countries, but no move. But you did get Missouri there. Yeah. That was assisted. I don't think solo anyone can do. Or maybe people can do that. Who knows? What are the solo best streaks? Let's see. Obviously, we only need to see no move. 195. 260? Four 14. Solo. What? I guess at that point, people just knew every location because it's a driver's world. 1000 string. 414 on a diverse world. I guess that's why his name is ADW Steve. Timeline, oh, Blackberry timeline. Canary. 25 black. Road 4 in Yukon. Hi. Three, two, one. My click was not where it was. Or wait, where was Or again? Was it not mentioned today? Montana. Thank you, Trowsy. Oh, Oregon. It's US, right? I'm trusting Gen 4 with this. Nope. China Penjui. Penju. So are they like, is this some political statement against China? In that case, it's Taiwan, but it looks more like Hong Kong though. And I think Taiwan is a separate country for country streaks. I don't know. No, Renegade called Idaho. Manila? What? Are you joking? I'm pretty sure Taiwan is counted as a separate country, no? In but we have kanji or whatever that's called. But maybe it's specific to that particular brand. Okay. Honestly, I'm never going Philippines here. But if the goat says so. Okay, I guess I'm going Manila in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Yeah. Ah, 25 light blue. If that helps. Veracruz question mark. Veracruz question mark. Chiapas, Tabasco. Bang. Petron is only Philly and Malaysia. Yo, welcome in Scarlock. I've seen you play the India daily challenges. Gumbo limbo fences. Yeah, I think earlier today there was like a penguin water tank brand which was supposed to be only Indo, and we got that with that help or something. Only on Russian gas stations. Katanduanes. I don't remember where that was. I'm assuming it's like somewhere here. Right? Katanduanes. Oh, Katanduanes. What? East of Naga. Yep. Bang. Like I didn't. Maybe I should have tried to align it. You have to play it for hours and hours and hours. So that was Petron. For breakfast, 20 seats blink. NMPZ. Yeah, I was not even looking at the round. I was just trying to read chat because I'm very bad at reading chat. This that did smell like Bolivia. Um, South Africa, right? Yeah, I've seen him. By the way, shout out to Renegade. He streams Philippines gameplay if you wanna see from his phone or iPad, something like that. Give him a follow, please. He streams Philippines. He used to stream Namibia gameplay as well. But now I think the last time I saw he was streaming Philippines. Is this South Africa? Yeah, he lives in this city, Bacolod, and he will probably live there for a few more years, from what I know. Uh, yeah, I think his visa is like for a few years. Is this South Africa or is it Brazil? I think this sign is for left side driving, but there is also another road on this side, so I don't know which road this sign is for. Any guesses? I'm not sure. Should I pretend I lost internet and then open up a new seed and continue? We have one Zagus and everyone is confused. Stream is not frozen. I'm just waiting for people to guess. Oh, yeah, I'm just joking. So which one has the emote? Yeah, this one has the emote. Uh, South Brazil, but on. Am I just okay? So Renegade Brazil, Gen Forza. I don't know what this is. Fences could be either. No, I think fences are more clumped together, which is more Brazil. I would say. I don't know what that is. Yeah, I have no idea what that is. We are somewhat on the left side of the road, to be fair. Yeah, I'm still convinced this is Za, but what about blur? What about it? Just normal blur, no? Like normal small cam blur. Because it's a back of small cam blur. So we came from here, but there is no dust. I mean, there might be a bit of dust, no? Look at this region. It has a bit of dust. So we came from here. This is back of the car. And we're kind of on the left side of the road. No, this is a big part, no? Is it not a big part? Needed a vacation, ended up loving and adopting a street kitty. And I'm assuming this sign is for this main road and not this small ass road. And since this sign is set up for left side driving, also it feels more South Africa to me. Like vibes are more South Africa. Even though the fence is more Brazil, I would say. Yeah, fence looks more Brazil. And I do not know plants. There are no palms. And maybe, I don't know, probably a schizo thing, but I think the soil is more South Africa. Surely World League player can crack locks like this. Surely. 600 total world games. We are between South Africa and Brazil. And I think Gen 4 thinks it's South Africa, right? Yeah, Gen 4 is more South Africa. I am more South Africa. But all of us are a bit confused. Renegade thinks it's more Brazil. Sign is on left, and I'm assuming it's for this big road and not this small road. So yeah, that's also like I don't think even nah, I don't think I send Brazil here, honestly. But what do I know? And Rallis is not saying anything. Isn't this the new Gen 5 Brazil car? Yes, it's the small cam car, but it can be in South Africa as well. I think it's the same. Maybe in South Africa, it's like the ones that I've seen, they have like a black thing that kind of looks. Wait, maybe in South Africa, the blur isn't this prominent. I don't know actually. But I've definitely seen this version of blur in Brazil. But I think in South Africa, it's kind of a squarish blur at the back. Closer to a truck. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It feels like a truck with like a black lining sometimes. So maybe this blur is only Brazil. So that means this sign is for this. Which also makes sense because this sign is more close to this road than this road. And I don't know what this person or what this thing is, but yeah, but they could be going away from us. So I don't know. Yeah, but I think I don't know. South Africa small cam blur looks a bit different, but maybe this is also in South Africa. I don't know. That's all. What do we think? Clueless. Welcome back, Crypt. So before small cam, we would not have this 50-50. Maybe we would still have it. I am waiting. I think we have been on this round for like 10 minutes already. Clearly South Africa. Okay, finally type 1 if graphics I think thinks more za but also sees Brazil, which is I guess the case for all of us. Type 1 if South Africa, type 2 if Brazil, type 3 if unsure. Brazil goat has ad. What? Who is the Brazil goat? Is it crypt or something? Who's the Brazil goat? Like, are you on a call with them? Trausi, are you just schizo? Yeah, I'm also like 70% sure it's South Africa. But I guess the blur might not make sense. I've never really paid attention to how the blur looks like. At least on the main highway roads, it looks like a proper, like bigger than this. No, it's also already bigger, I guess. But if the Brazil goat, I don't know who they are, but if they say it's, they would go za, but they're not sure. I guess we go za. I guess I'm sending za in 10 seconds. 9. Yeah, if this is it, this is it. I don't mind 158. 987. 654. 321. Um, where in za though? Actually, I'm not sure. Paraguay does not. Paraguay has a truck that you will be able to physically see. So yeah, 3 to 1, South Africa. Bang. Hello, Hoppy. Hoppy, are you the Brazil goat that Rousey mentioned? And good morning. It's already morning for you guys. No, it's been. Oh, Luminous is the Brazil goat that even I know. Um, we are in New Mexico, is what someone called. Also, shout out to Luminous. They are also trying to stream nowadays. Uh, and thank you for the follow. Did I miss anything? New Mex. Okay. Yeah, no worries. Yeah, give Luminous a follow if you wanna watch some pro gameplay. Else needs to guess. Yeah, I'll go Mexico. Mexico in 5. Did anyone say Mexico? Yeah, Mexico. My chat is still buggy. Takes some time. 4, 3, 2, 1. Surely this is Max. Right. Stolen body walls. Yeah. SLP. Arm. Why did I reload? Oh, I thought it's blurry, so I thought it didn't load. Um, yeah, I think it's just India, right? And not Nepal. Like one of these roads. Yeah, I think so, but I don't know how Nepal poles look like. We all have glaucoma. Yeah. Yeah, we are in Ladakh. 23. Maybe blue or light blue. Striped, maybe. So the streak when we lost 91, I think Tom Hanks was saying it is striped car, but it just looked like normal car. And maybe with striped car we would have gone Mexico instead of Brazil. So yeah, I can't really tell. Maybe it is striped. New Brunswick is the call. I'm assuming OH just means O and not Ohio. Yeah. I don't know which it's like. I don't have no clue. No lines, that is true. Yeah, but it's 23 striped. I don't know what pines these are. Maybe this is a birch. That's all. How is this Canada or US? I prefer US. I like Great Lakes. Yeah, I think I would also probably go Great Lakes, but I don't know. Like in US. I prefer US. So Renegade says Canada, Hoppy in US, Gen 4 doesn't know. I'm personally more in US, but I'm also 500 rated, so welcome back. I might stand a bit because I've been sitting for quite a while. I'll just walk around in the room. I'm still here just walking around. I thought we were in Russia. Hello, Icy Town. Um, no, we're definitely in US, Canada. And yeah, one person thinks US, one person thinks Canada. That's the summary. Wisconsin over like Ontario. Yeah, that's what Gen 4 is saying. But I think this is more on the US side, but what do I know? I would lean US, but mate, this is fucked. Yeah. Also 23 striped. If Hoppy doesn't know, I don't think others would know. Uh, yeah. No lines. I mean, it's just a rural road. I like Michigan, Wisconsin. Yeah, I think I'm going on the US side. In 5 seconds. 4, 3, 2, 1. If we lose it, we lose it. We don't. Senegal in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. India in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Got this, which is interesting. Arm. Yeah, I don't know. Raj? Yeah, sure. I'll go here though. It's MP, Maha actually. Chile? 25 white. I thought Chile was only blue, but maybe in 25 it is white as well. Who knows? 25. Oh, yeah. The Chile whole got snowy mountains, but yeah, I'm not gonna find those. 1, 2, 3, 4 smudges and a bird. Think it's more Canada. NB East, you know that bird. Gaspe, sure. Okay, definitely okay. Botswana, unless it's not. Can't see if it is yellow black striped, but yeah. North, north. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Or even more north. Definitely India. Sending in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, I'll hide this. I'll hide my cam because there is a pole behind me. Hobby, what happened to you? You've been gone. Yeah, tournament on 21st February. Message me or let me know. It's 1v1. I'll have to think on the map, but yeah. Either join the Discord or just message me. I'll add you to the tournament. Yeah, where is this? Sask? Let me just confirm once. I know you guys have already confirmed. Which one was that, man? Training mode. Yeah, 2 1. It's still 2 1. 1 2 1 2. So that doesn't confirm anything. But I guess feels Sask. It's light blue 25. The one crossbar, but it's two. Yeah, I know, like, you're not streaming, but you're still playing, right? Or are you not even playing? Yeah, then you're still here. You're not gone. I'm gonna send Sask in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Map domination. Yep. Holy red. Cambo in 5. I'm waiting. What are the other options? Vietnam? Is it India? 1% shit cam. Unlucky. But the poll is more Cambo, no? It's not Ecuador, it's not Bangla, it's not Sri Lanka. Maybe it is Sri Lanka. I don't know. Probably not Sri Lanka. I think the poll is not India, but might be. Kokong. Never that red. Kokong. Where is that? You have to tell me the exact directions from capital or something like that. Close enough? Okay. Still don't see it. Oh, it's a province. I thought it was like a big city. I think cities would be called Krong or something. Russia in 3, 2, 1. It was the Sverdlovsk Road, of course. Tom Price, right? Uh, Sending in 5, 4, 3, 2. I mean, it has to be Australia. This one, however, we don't know. Max. Pole with yellow sticker. Is that something? Brazil with Sao Paulo. I mean, it's a wooden pole, I'm assuming, but I'm not sure. Me- Mexico is yellow. Yellow sticker is Mexico. Yeah, I think someone mentioned it earlier today. I already forgot. Yeah, I think graphics only mentioned it, right? India, right? It's there's some language. I can't even make out what language it is. So it should still be India. 4, 3, 2, 1. Is Nepal possible? No, I don't think Nepal has a small cam. It's Lucknow. Um, I don't know which hills these are, but should be Turkey. I'm sending in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. East is the call. Ooh, ooh. Bolivia is my thought. One, one. 4, 3, 2, 1. Yeah, there's no point in trying to line up, but I'll still do something. Oh, it's that far. And now the name of the road changes from 1 to 4. Don't know why. Tocantins grass. Yeah, this is what I thought the South Africa small cam looked like, which with like a straight line, but but it also has the other one where we had the 50-50. But this is definitely Brazil, and I'm sending in oh, black back as well. 4, 3, 2, 1. Qatar. It's 26 updated copyright. Sending Qatar in 5, 4, 3. Don't think I've seen those polls in Namibia. Not yeah, it's right side driving as well. I think that's all I have. And it's like white sand, which is more Qatar than never Oman. I mean, he did say Oman will have a bunch of locations after the map update. And maybe central Oman might look like this, but I don't know. Possible. Very much possible. Yeah, that is true, Scarlock. But I mean, there might be places. I'm still gonna go Qatar, but I guess if you guys convince me it's Oman, I go Oman. I think I'm gonna go Oman. Sorry, Qatar. I mean, if you're not sure, I'm not sure either. That's the thing. I've never seen Qatar with tabletop hills. Maybe that's one of the reasons. Let's. Oh, I disabled the that thing. Dun, 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 dun. Yeah, if you see a terrain, yeah, it's mostly a flat country, except like there are some hills. But I was thinking about like this middle New Oman, but they're like sand dunes and not hills. I don't know. It's 26, so doesn't really help. Zen will come and tell a Latin name now. Uh, I'm gonna send Oman. I mean Qatar. I'm gonna send Qatar in. Is it a Freudian slip or something? Is it actually Oman? I don't know. Oh, my scam is still hidden. Uh, Qatar in 3, 2, 1. 26 should be much more in common. Yeah, but they updated a bunch of copyrights with 26 already. That's what I'm a bit sad about. Like even in Russia now you'll see 26 copyright, for example. Yeah. And I did not do a countdown. That's what happened. A nice call, Gen 4. It's April 2025. Oh, Jeff. And all I have to do now is play a moving game because that was redeemed. And then we'll read out 178. Not bad.